Welcome to Star Watch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. From a quiet boy in Hunan to a global icon at Paris Fashion Week, Wang Yibo didn't just rise to fame, he earned it. Not through noise, not through scandals, but through years of silent, relentless effort. Today, we take you inside a story of grit, transformation, and quiet power. Wang Yibo's journey didn't begin on a grand stage or under bright lights. It began in quiet corners, far from the spotlight, in the modest city of Luoyang, Hunan. As a child, he often watched street dance videos alone, mesmerized by the precision, power, and rhythm. While other kids were playing, Yibo was studying footwork, mimicking body isolations, trying to understand the language of movement that spoke louder than words. At just 13, he made a decision that would alter the course of his life. I want to dance. From the moment he stepped into the dance studio, everything changed. The walls were bare, the mirrors unforgiving, and the floor hard on the knees, but none of it deterred him. Sweat became his second skin. Pain became part of the process. He practiced one move hundreds of times until it became muscle memory. His knees bruised so often that they began to resemble medals rather than injuries. His clothes were soaked through on a daily basis, and yet he kept showing up. While others relied on natural talent, Yibo relied on something else, an unshakable will to improve. He once said, "Dancing isn't about talent. It's about doing something so many times that failure gets tired of you." His dedication eventually caught the attention of scouts, and he was selected to train professionally. But even then, nothing came easily. He was just a teenager, thrown into a new environment, eventually moving to South Korea where he didn't speak the language. Surrounded by more experienced trainees, he was easy to overlook, quiet, reserved, and not immediately impressive. But Yibo never tried to impress. He simply worked. 14 hours a day, sometimes more, with no recognition, no applause, and no guarantees. What separated Wang Yibo from many others was not raw talent or charisma. It was endurance. A kind of silent perseverance that doesn't need validation to keep going. In those early years, he wasn't chasing fame. He was building a foundation, not for a moment in the spotlight, but for a lifetime of earning it. There are moments in every great journey that are quiet, so quiet, they're almost invisible. For Wang Yibo, those years of near silence were not a pause, but a preparation. After being selected as a trainee, he was sent to South Korea. A foreign land, a foreign language, and an entirely unfamiliar world. He arrived with little more than discipline, humility, and a burning determination to prove himself, even when no one was watching. In an environment where charm and confidence often got you noticed, he remained in the shadows, observing, listening, and practicing. The language barrier was more than just verbal, it was cultural, emotional, personal. He couldn't always speak, but he could move, and so he danced. Every day, for more than 14 hours, he confronted his reflection in the practice room mirror, the one person he had to outdo. His progress wasn't fast, and it wasn't flashy. It was quiet, almost imperceptible, but constant. While others chased attention, he chased improvement. While others talked, he endured. And through that silence, he began to shape something far greater than performance. He was forming a character, one built from patience and persistence. When he debuted with the group UNIQ in 2014, the odds still weren't in his favor. He was the quiet one, the boy who stood at the edge of the frame, barely speaking, often overlooked. Then came the setbacks. Geopolitical tensions froze group activities, and momentum stalled. He was placed on a variety show day up, not as a main figure, but as someone expected to blend into the background. And he did, at least at first. He spoke little, smiled politely, nodded along. Even the hosts noticed his passivity. One of them once said, "You need to speak your mind." But what no one knew was that Yibo had always been quietly forming his own thoughts, his own vision, and his own voice. He just wasn't ready to speak it yet. Not until he had something meaningful to show for it. These silent years weren't wasted. They were years of building strength in solitude, of developing a voice through action, not words. While the world remained unaware, Wong Eba was preparing, not to be loud, but to be undeniable. And when his moment finally came, there was no need for him to raise his voice. His presence would do it for him. Every artist has a turning point, a moment when years of invisible work suddenly become undeniable. For Wong Eba, that moment arrived not with fanfare, but with stillness. His portrayal of Lan Wangji in the Untamed was not loud, dramatic, or overstated. It was quiet, restrained, and hauntingly precise. And perhaps that's what made it so powerful. In a character defined by silence, Wang Yibo found his reflection, his own years of holding back, of speaking through actions, of learning how to say everything without needing to say anything. He prepared for that role as if it were a final test. Every gesture, every glance, every breath was studied and internalized. He didn't just memorize lines, he inhabited a state of being. He practiced in front of mirrors, refining how emotion could flicker across his eyes without ever breaking the surface. He calculated the weight of his steps, the tension in his hands, the pace of his breathing. Behind that seemingly effortless stillness was a storm of precision and control, all forged in the years he had spent being overlooked. When The Untamed aired, something shifted. Audiences across Asia were captivated not just by the story, but by the strange gravity of this actor who barely spoke but commanded every frame. For the first time, Wang Yibo wasn't the quiet one at the edge, he was the center. He didn't explode into fame with noise or controversy. He emerged like a force that had always been there, waiting, and now simply could no longer be ignored. But perhaps what defined his breakthrough most was what came after. He didn't chase the glamour of sudden popularity. Instead, he turned inward again toward challenge, discipline, and movement. He took up professional motorcycle racing, not for show, but for the thrill of mastering something dangerous and demanding. Even after breaking his collarbone, he returned to compete and win. When asked about his choices, he said plainly, "You can't survive on traffic alone." It wasn't a dismissal of fame, it was a reminder that true value isn't measured by visibility, but by substance. Wang Yibo's breakthrough wasn't just about recognition, it was about alignment. After years of silence, the world finally saw the person he had always been becoming. And he met that gaze not with noise, but with quiet certainty. In Paris, he stood on the runway, not as a celebrity but as an artist. At Chanel's show, he didn't just wear the clothes. He discussed embroidery, talked textures, and adjusted a brooch like it was second nature. In the past, cameras made him nervous. Now, he owns the lens. Whether it's luxury brands or streetwear, Wang Yibo doesn't follow trends. He creates his own. As Chanel's brand ambassador, he redefined what elegance means for a younger generation. What sets him apart? It's not the fame, not even the looks. It's the quiet consistency. The boy who was once invisible became impossible to ignore. Not through flash, but through discipline. From bruised knees in a dusty studio, to standing tall on the world's most prestigious stages. Every drop of sweat was a brick in his foundation. Wang Yibo reminds us, success doesn't shout. It shows up quietly, every day. And when the world finally looks your way, you're ready. What part of Wang Yibo's story speaks to you the most? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs a little motivation today. And we'll be back soon with more stories that inspire. Thanks for watching.